Hello. Uh, Michelle here. Um, as usual, waiting to see if I have company tonight. So give me a couple of minutes and I will be right back.
Testing.
Gio,
Hey,
hey, how you doing?
I'm okay, despite the fact that I spilled my cup of coffee, so I'm under caffeinated severely.
I had that same problem earlier today of being under caffeinated. Oh man. Well, I am actually more unprepared than usual.
Okay.
Uh, I have not done all the reading. Maybe I got through about a quarter of the chapter.
Oh dear.
And, I just got back this afternoon about 2 o'clock um,
Oh,
from Orlando.
oh, all right.
Yeah,
Nice.
my brothers and I went down there for the interment of my older brother who
Mhm.
passed, a few months ago.
Oh, okay.
And yesterday was his birthday, would have been his 69th birthday. And so his wife had decided to hold, he was cremated, so to hold the interment on his birthday. So we've been
Okay.
we've been in Florida since Sunday, and so I got back today. Actually, I left home on Saturday, and we had all this rain. It was horrific, and just travel. Oh God! And by the time TSA finishes raking you over the coals,
Right. It's such an ordeal.
it's such an ordeal. So I had thought I would finish my reading um, on the plane, but then my brother Larry, the one who lives in New Jersey, the other one, Martin, lives in Maryland. So Larry and I flew down together and we talked the whole way down. And, and then we were pretty
Right.
much busy, every minute that we were there.
Right.
Um, and only getting a little bit of sleep and uh getting up at 2:30 in the morning for these early morning flights, and so
Ooh,
I am really kind of wiped
yeah.
out.
You barely here.
I'm barely here. But I didn't want to cancel because a few
Yeah, we
days
want to stay on
before
track.
a few days before I left, Nicole had sent me a message saying she was, definitely planning to try to get here
Oh.
this week. And I told you I had talked to her a few weeks ago, and uh, she might really be interested in kind of keeping things going. Um, so I don't know. I think it. What time is it in Houston? Do you know?
Oh man, aren't they like 2 hours behind us? So it's
Yeah.
probably like three.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think she may just be getting off work, now or maybe in another hour. I'm not sure. But she may show up. So I wanted us to, maybe be here in case that happens. And then I just
Okay.
got off the phone with Venita, and who was in the middle of cooking and has not done her reading. And she's had a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
And but she said she was going to try to pop in after she gets her stuff off the stove, or whatever. So I figured,
Okay.
yeah, we could just kick it. Or did you do your reading?
I did. I started last night. I did not fell asleep on it. I'm like, okay, I set my timer. I put my Hemi sync music on so I could focus. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I was reading and highlighting. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Good thing this is a short chapter.
It's a
I had
short
my little,
chapter.
yeah, it is. I had a little timer going every 5 minutes
Oh,
so I could keep, be here on time. I'm like, but
oh
this
wow.
this is
I
an
feel so
easier. Oh, you look, don't worry, we're gonna do this thing.
bad.
So this is an easier chapter. It's not really complicated like a lot of his are with great, deep thoughts and, and stuff, you
Yeah.
know. And pretty much the
Okay.
last paragraph of the chapter sums it all up.
Oh, you want to read that? Well, let's
Oh
do it.
yeah.
Let's do an
Okay, okay,
introduction. And but also I wanted to say what I was thinking was, we can figure out what we want to do. Do we want to just try to have the discussion tonight, especially since you've read it, and I could just listen to what you have to say and respond to that. Or we could include it as a double chapter next week. Or, I guess we could extend out beyond April 9th, but I'm trying not to do that.
We're not doing that.
We're
We're not
not
doing
doing that.
that.
Okay. Um, but yeah, so all right, well, let me say welcome everyone to who what wants to roll off of my tongue. Reading for Change, a collective journey, where we have been reading for quite a while now. Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. A really good book. Um, and can you believe I carried this around with me in Orlando, this big old book, and didn't touch it. It weighs about 5 pounds.
It's a big book.
It's a big book, but New York Times bestseller, and just a really engaging style of reading. Um, so, but we're almost done. We're into the last three chapters, and with the way things are going, we should come back next week, April 2nd, and then on April 9th, do the final chapter. So tonight we're on, I believe it's chapter 18, A Permanent Revolution. And Gio's going to try to carry us through that one. Um, and what else? I'm Michelle Odom in Brooklyn, New York, joined tonight by,
Georgette Moses in Columbia, South Carolina. Woohoo!
yay! you know, so good. That's good though, Gio. So, if Nicole comes, great. If Venita comes, great. And if they don't, at least we will have some discussion on this chapter and keep it moving. So you were going to were you going to read the last paragraph that you said sums it up nicely?
Yeah, I think it sums it up nicely. Um, so he says, to satisfy both optimists and pessimists, we may conclude by saying that we are on the threshold of both heaven and hell, moving nervously between the gateway of the one and the anteroom of the other. History has still not decided where we will end up, and a string of coincidences might yet send us rolling in either direction. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So we don't really know. Yeah. I was trying to describe the book to my brother Martin, who said he wants to read it. Um, you know, as really as Harari looking at patterns in human history and how we get, stuck on a particular course, and it takes centuries, just centuries to really um, change direction, um, which is I mean, it can be demoralizing to think of it that way, that change is so difficult, but I find it hopeful in that um, it says to me that no matter how things look at the present moment, um, the something's eventually going to change, to click, that moves humanity in a different direction. So that's what that paragraph that you were reading kind of sounds like to me. Like we're at that, we're kind of at that point. Stop it. um where we still can't really see, what it's going to be, but it's going to be something. And so
mm,
why is why does he call this chapter a permanent revolution?
hmm. Well, I think because the Industrial Revolution created an environment that pretty much solidifies the fact that we're not going back to anything that's occurred before. Our culture has changed so much, moving from the intimate communities of family and your local community, extended family, and our emotional, psychological, financial needs being provided by these small communities, and then that being replaced by the state and the nation providing those things and the market. Uh, we're kind of, I think he says somewhere in here, we're bemoaning the loss of that intimacy, and yet we're trapped in, um, the as cogs of this other national and market driven, creation, and we can't go back. We can't go back to these places, and we're also trapped because uh, it's an imagined. What does he say? It's an imagined. Let me see. Where does he say it? I had this highlighted somewhere. Oh my goodness. Huh. Okay, I can't find it, but we've become individuals. So this individualism, as opposed to being part of a family or a community that was so strong before, now the state and the market takes care of all of these imagined needs, right? And so how do we go back? There
Mm-hmm.
is no going back.
Mm-hmm.
And we're kind of sitting on and then later in the chapter, he talks about, um, yay, oh, look, we have Nicole. Oh, they're imagined communities. So that the
Mhm.
market and states have created for us.
Mhm.
And they
Oh,
supply these tribal bonds. But they're all imagined because, we have hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of strangers who believe that they know each other, but they really don't. And it's just because they like the same things, they buy the same things, they work the same in the same, industries and such. But we don't really have a significant connection. Yay! Oh, look at Nicole! Look at
looking
you!
so pretty.
Ah,
See y'all.
Hey, Nicole.
what's
Hey, good
up,
to see
stranger?
y'all.
How's your family? How's everything going?
Everybody's doing okay. Growing up,
Yeah.
Right.
getting older.
All
All
But it's
right.
really good to
right.
see y'all.
You look so
You
gorgeous.
too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Wow. Well, let me just say one thing in response to what Gio was just saying. Gio, as I said, I just spent the last few days in Florida. And, it wouldn't be Florida without seeing a truck go by that said, uh, take America back, Trump. Uh,
Okay.
and it just seems like that whole spirit, that whole movement, um in a sense, when you were talking about, we can't go back and bemoaning, um a world that's no longer here, um that there's something pitiful about that. There's something um delusional. There's something, just like a failure to cope with reality, that I could see in that kind of a movement. Nicole, we're reading Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind by Yuval Noah Harari. Have you ever read it?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Um,
So we're kind of playing it by ear tonight because I have not done the reading for this week. I'm just getting back today from the internment. My big brother passed, I think it was December 4th,
mhm.
and his birthday was yesterday, and so his wife did the internment on his birthday. Um, and so I didn't get my reading done. Venita is hopefully going to pop in, but she didn't get her reading done either. And her dad had a stroke
Oh,
a few weeks ago.
oh,
He's in his 90s,
oh,
and she's his only child.
okay.
So she's been dealing with a lot of stuff. But she's gonna try to pop her head in at some point. But we really have two more chapters after tonight, and we'll be done with this book. Um, and since Gio was the only one that that read the chapter for tonight, um, she was going to try to lead us through a little bit of
Mm.
discussion on it, so that we can call this a complete chapter and keep it moving.
I got
Um,
you.
but Gio, why don't we maybe take a little time and just try to describe the book for Nicole. And Venita has read has read the book, and I have read the book.
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago, the two of us did it privately. Um, and it's such a good book that we were both willing to read it again, you know, in book group format. Um, but for one reason or another, we had such a hard time
Got you.
getting through it. So, um, yeah, I just said to Gio a few minutes ago, I was trying to describe the book to my brother this weekend, who wants to read it. And one of the things I was saying to him is that I think really what Harari is doing and doing a good job of is looking at patterns of behavior in human history. He's a historian. Um, and looking how, without a lot of design or intent, um, we get on a particular path. And so he describes these as key revolutionary periods in human history. Um, Let me look at the table of contents for a second. Um, so he starts out with the cognitive revolution, and he's going back in history at that point to, where do humans come in? 6 million years ago. He has a timeline. 13.5 billion years ago, matter and energy appear. 4.5 billion years, the formation of planet Earth. 3.8 billion years, the emergence of organisms. 6 million years ago, our last common grandmother of humans and chimpanzees, and he comes on down the line. So when he's talking about humans, that period, 6 million years ago up to maybe about 100,000 years ago, he's talking about 6 or 8 different kinds of humans that cohabited the earth. Um, like what's the one we all know? Neanderthalis, which some of that DNA is still showing up in people today. So, but there were about 6 or 8 different types of humans that we know of. But what we don't know is what happened. He's calling them what, our brothers or our cousins, and we don't know, if Homo sapiens, which was one of the types, if Homo sapiens offed our siblings, you know, or if they became extinct in some other kind of way. But Homo sapiens, survived or won the battle of existence, and um, and somehow went from being an ordinary animal, no better than the cows and the sheep and the bumblebees, to being at the top of the food chain. And then once we got there, we just kind of went jackbutt crazy. and are imperiling, every other species that manages to still survive. So this first revolution that he's talking about, the cognitive revolution, is when we started to have an awareness that, how would you describe, Gio, the cognitive revolution?
Well, the most memorable idea from that section for me was the strength of myth that we were able to tell ourselves and each other. And being able to tell these stories created cohesiveness, right? And also adversarial relationships. So, but one thing that he did not answer, maybe he couldn't, was that where did speech come from? Because that was the turning point of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I remember the most from about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so then the next great revolutionary period was the agricultural revolution, when we learned about, farming. And it's an example, as all these revolutions are, it's an example of there wasn't some grand design or plan, but once it kicked off, and these things take centuries, to get rooted. And then once they're rooted, you can't uproot those bastards to save your life, no matter what the consequences, the risks, the dangers, even as we become aware of the harm that we're doing to ourselves and others, we can't get off the train because now so much has been, invested in a particular uh, style of life. Let's say hello to Venita.
Hey, Venita.
Hi, Benita. Good
Hey.
to see
You don't have
you.
you don't have your mic on, Venita.
That's because I've lost my mind.
Oh no.
I'm going through a little something, something. I'm trying to cook at the same time. And I don't know why, because I'm here by myself, but I'm hungry. Nicole,
Hi, Benita. Good to see
my
you.
long lost daughter from another mother.
Yes, it's so good to see you.
You look fabulous as usual.
Oh, thank you. I wish I felt
Venita,
that.
Venita and Nicole, why don't you two do your introductions with your name and your location?
All right. Well, I'm Nicole Wilson, coming in from Houston, Texas. H-Town.
All right. Have y'all seceded yet?
We don't know.
That's a lot.
Venita.
I'm Venita Walker, joining you from Cromwell, Connecticut. Welcome.
All right. So Venita, what we're doing right now, I haven't read the chapter, you haven't read the chapter, Nicole hasn't read the book.
Yeah.
Gio is the only one who is prepared and up to date. And if it were just going to be the two of us, she was going to try to, lead a discussion about that. And I do want us to get back to that, Gio, so we can finish the chapter. But right now, what we're doing is trying to give Nicole an overview of the book. And I'm trying to do it from the perspective of the four revolutions that he focuses on. So then there's a period that is called the unification of humankind. And so, as Jill was talking about, once we learned how to speak and we learned how to create myths, then we could come up with fantastic ideas like money, and empire,
Mm-hmm.
and religion. And so it took centuries for those concepts to get embedded and widespread through humanity. But once you're in, you know, it's easy to get in, it's hard to get out.
I've been trying for years to get.
Yeah. And then the final revolution is what he calls the scientific revolution. And I believe that started maybe about, was it 500 years ago? Does that sound right? Not that long, not that long. It's fairly recent. Um, but so that's where we are. But that's when we were able to take a turn from just believing in myths to accepting that there may be some factual way to learn things, to know things. And so we're still there. And so Jill was saying about this current chapter that we're in, chapter 18, which is called A Permanent Revolution. Is that what he's talking about in that chapter was that once we got to the phase of the Industrial Revolution, we were really locked into a way of life that we're not getting out of, or we don't really know what the next phase is going to be. We're at some kind of a turning point, but we're not going to turn our backs on what we've learned about technology, you know. Gio, what would you add to that as a summary?
Let's see. Under his subheading Modern Time, and I've got that on page 456, he says the Industrial Revolution opened the way to a long line of experiments in social engineering and an even longer series of unpremeditated changes in daily life and human mentality. Mm-hmm. And that extends into our idea of war and periods of war and peace, and the so-called permanent peace that we're experiencing now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And he's got a wonderful sense of humor, and so that comes through, and a very easygoing kind of casual style of writing. So it's really a very good book, and probably probably a foundation that all humans should have. He's looking at the question, how do we get here?
Yeah. And why do we stay?
Oh, wow. That's powerful. Yeah. That origin narrative. Got you. That's powerful. Okay.
Yeah. And he's an Israeli, and he's a gay guy, and so he's got a, a sort of a nonconformist way of looking at the world. And so he's really talking about how did we get here, and why is it so difficult to do better when we understand that we're just building on mythology and bad decisions and sinister intent. But we're complex. We're complex beings. Venita?
Yes.
If you were going to try to summarize Harari or give what you see as his key message in the book, what would you say?
I would say Harari is saying, as you said, this is the way it is. This is not the end of it. There'll be other changes that will come. And if you can't handle it, that's your problem. I'm just giving you the information. Changes, it's going to come. And we don't know what it's going to be. 20, 30, 40 years from now, thank God I'll be dead. But that's pretty much what he's saying, other than explaining how we started out. So we can, I always figure, I'm a planner, but you don't know where you're going unless you know where you came from. So he's giving us that foundation, you know. So you need to go pack your to-go bag now. And that's basically what the book's about, you know, just give us a foundation, let us know where we started and where he believes that we may end up, which no one knows. It's only a hypothesis. As a matter of fact, most things in this book we touch bases on are hypotheses from scientists or archaeologists, but we really don't have the full picture, and we never will.
Yeah, I was telling Nicole how there used to be several different kinds of humans.
Yes.
And we don't know what happened to them.
Some of them are back. Some of them are here. Some of them came back. Saw a couple of Stop and Shop today.
And they're angry.
Yes.
Everyone is angry. I don't care who you talk to, 8 to 80. They're angry. They just are, and rightfully so. When you don't know, humans need to know what's going to happen to them, like children. That's why we always talk to our children and we say, this is how our day is going to start. This is what we're going to do today. Because everyone needs to know that. When you're standing and you just dangling in Never Land, it sends people off the edge. Although many were on the edge and been on the edge forever. But no, that's just the way it is. Everyone's angry. I mean, everybody. I'm at a hospital today, and the nurse is snapping at me. I just said hello. If you don't want, if you don't want to do this, okay, just let me know.
Well, I went through when we were checking our bags this morning. It's 5:30 in the morning, and I had printed out my luggage tag and was walking over to where you give it to them. And so the woman that was trying to help people with that process, she said, well, peel it off here. And so I started doing that. And there are these little tabs on the end that you can stick it on various points. So I was doing that. And then she was like, well, I said peel this.
Oh.
And I was like, do you want to chill out a minute? So we had some words, and then she wouldn't help me. And I'm like, I cannot believe it is 5:30 in the morning. And I'm going through this. People are on edge, but she didn't understand. I got up at 2:30, so I'm on edge too.
You already on edge.
That's the part they don't get. That's the part they don't get. And that's why I was trying to be cool, because I'm actually at my doctor's office because I'm not feeling well. And then you will come here with all this. So I asked her, and she stopped and apologized. Is this not a good time for you? I'm here to see Dr. Abelist because I'm having a lupus flare up, which I called you to squeeze me in. But if you don't want to do this like this, just let me know. I understand. You may be having a bad day. I know it was busy because a lot of people were sick this time of the year. So it could be a lot of things. And usually, she's very, very good. But, everybody has a thing. And she's not always like that. But I'm just saying this, we have so much stimuli that doesn't take much anymore. The best of us have turned to these. I find myself like that sometimes. I'm pretty laid back. But sometimes I'm like, all right, let me join the fools because I'm not trying to do this today. I mean, I get to the point where being the very few people that walk around saying it's no fun anymore. Because we're actually getting all that vibe that people are projecting. How much can the sane people, relatively sane people take?
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I found myself just going on, somebody threw a dagger, I threw it right back. Mom was coming at the same time. Bam, there you go. Okay. I had to go and get my car and calm my nerves, do my feng shui and yoga and everything in the car. And I'm like, and it actually bothered me because people are changing me. And that's scary for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is where we are.
Well, speaking of
I agree, Venita.
Changing you. So Harari has written at least 2 other books after this. This was a New York Times bestseller. And then he wrote another one like this called Homo Human God, where he's looking at current technology, AI, and I was telling my brothers when we were in Florida, I had seen on 60 Minutes, maybe about a year ago, there was a story about Florida being the test ground for these driverless 18-wheelers. So as we're going down the highway, I said to my brother that was driving, I said, so now don't freak out, if you look over. And there's an 18-wheeler coming down on you with no driver.
It's not a scene from a Stephen King movie.
Yeah. And so Harari and Homo is looking at how all of this, technology has now taken us to the point where essentially we're almost in a position to create a near immortality. And so what's that going to look like, and who's going to survive that process? And yeah, that's a real freaky kind of thing but I'm with Venita. We'll be dead by then, Venita. Thank goodness.
That's right. And I'm depending on you all to take me out if I don't go naturally.
Cole, I don't know what you're gonna do with these people
here. Yeah, because when you were describing it, I was actually wondering about that. That was one of my questions, like how AI is impacting everything, because oh my gosh, it's impacting so much. So yeah, I need to get this book and then link to that next one, because things are rapidly changing. Rapidly.
And then he wrote another one called 21 Lessons for the 21st Century.
Oof.
And they're all, excellent, thought-provoking, chock full of information. So yeah. Gio, is there anything else you want to say about the book or the chapter?
Well, there was some I was thinking about what you guys were all saying about the collective attitude of people you're running into out here in the world, and as I was reading this chapter, I was trying to find some links to, because our emotionally desperate situation, it seems like, here today, like politically and economically, and then you throw in geopolitics into that mix, the uncertainty, war here and there. It's he says that consumerism and nationalism work extra hours to make us imagine that millions of strangers belong to the same community as ourselves, and that we have a common past, common interests, and a common future. He says this isn't a lie, it's imagination. Like money, limited liability companies, and human rights, nations and consumer tribes are intersubjective realities. They only exist in our collective imagination, yet their power is immense. And so I was thinking that when our belief in these systems, right, that we've come to trust and they govern our lives across the globe becomes distorted or endangered. And I got that in quotes because it depends on what side of this you're on, whether you think you're benefiting or you think you're in danger of losing something. You know, the whole emotional subculture is affected, right? You can't even do your job as part of the cog in this whole industrial revolution machine. So, hmm, where does it take us? How do we balance, or mediate all of that emotional and psychological disruption that's going on? When certain parts of this consumer and national peace benefit from us being this disruptive, right? And I liken that to, our connection to Wall Street. It goes up, it goes down, but it only goes up if you've laid off a whole bunch of people and now they're suffering, but now they're in the street complaining about, I don't have a job, I can't pay, my rent is too high, all of these different things. And then you have groups who wish to explain the reason why you're having that problem is these Mexicans coming across the border invading our country. And so how do we, if we are to go forward, and I mean, we can't stay still because the whole process is always in flux. And as he says in this chapter, it's even the flux is increasing. So how do we regain a sense of stability so we can progress, in a normal, well, in a healthy, wholesome fashion, right? And not take rights away from people who've already had rights. Yeah, how do we achieve some sort of communal balance in order to maintain this permanent peace he says we have because of mutual destruction, assured destruction. So that's the military piece. And then the financial piece is we're a global economy, so if somebody gets out of line, we can like say, hey, we're not buying your stuff no more unless you come and come under the come and you know straighten up, don't do these things that we've determined are, detrimental to the whole. So, uh,
That's the billion-dollar question.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think if it's going to be stopped, it would have been done or slowed down because it wasn't going to ever stop a few decades ago. I think technology has become so sophisticated and it seems sudden, but nothing is ever sudden. Just like Wall Street, 70% of Wall Street is owned by billion and trillionaires. The other 30% is kind of trickled out amongst us. Our job is to keep feeding Wall Street through our 401k plans and keep the trillionaires and the billionaires and trillionaires. So again, it's imaginary. As you said, it doesn't exist. Even if you look on the floor, there used to be traders on the floor. There's tons of traders on the floor. You had tickets flying everywhere. Everything was the whole excitement. Now, Bloomberg decided, well, we don't even need those traders anymore. And they're not even making the money they used to make anymore. None of them, period. Some are unemployed because he took it to technology. So I don't see a way out of this, to be honest with you. If it wasn't slowed down or stopped decades ago, the whole purpose of science is to advance. And they will die and go to hell 195 times before they allow anybody to stop with what is already in the process. So I don't think it's going to be a happy ending, and that's not being pessimistic. I don't see how it can be. We're not allowed to think for ourselves. And for those who have always been fighting for human rights, which is Black folk, First, we got to be recognized as humans. Now it's just not Black folk. Anybody who's not wealthy has to just fight to be recognized as human. And that's where the tide turned. And that's why Trump.
Yeah, and the stress all of that puts on us. So drawing on my weekend experience in Florida. So as we're going down the various highways, there are these well, on the Florida Turnpike, for example, there's no booths that you have to go through, to pay your toll. There are just these signs that show up, seems like every quarter mile or so, that says, you will be billed by your plate number, and then cameras, watching you from every angle. So no human, jobs out there like they used to be. And then the stress, of being a passenger, a traveler. So this morning, for example, when we went to turn in our bags, check our bags, there was no human involved in that process. You have to lay your bag up on this conveyor belt, and then you're supposed to scan your boarding pass and scan your ID. And so we were both having trouble doing it. So finally a human came over to help us. And so with my brother, the issue was, when I made the reservations, I used his full name, but it's not the way he has it on his driver's license. Mm-hmm. And so they had to fix that in the computer before the machine would accept his ID. So then we passed through that area, and now we're off to TSA. And he was in front of me, and he was about to go through the lovely scanner where you hands up, where your whole body gets irradiated. Right? Mm-hmm. And I was behind him. And so they kept trying to take my picture, and it wouldn't go through. And so she said, well, take off your glasses. So I did that, try to take my picture, and it still wasn't going through. What? So then she looked at my ID, and she said, your ID, they have your birthday. The airline Spirit has your birthday as 1971. Ish. So it won't go through. So they gave me a piece of paper and said, you have to go back to Spirit, have them fix it in their computer, then you can come back to TSA, to the head of the line. So of course, Spirit is, down the way, around the bend, and over the mulberry bush. Oh. So I go back there, they fix it, with no problem. But the whole time I'm like, what the hell? If Spirit fucked it up, why am I under the stress of having to hustle to get back over there and get back to TSA and take off my shoes? It was just, but the whole process, there was very little human contact. So much of it was you, the customer, you need to check yourself in. You need to print your own boarding pass. You need to check your bags. And all of this was just like, and you all know, I'm fairly computer literate. And I was stressed out. And I'm just like, really, how is the average person coping with all of this, you have turned me into the worker. You
They're
got
not.
rid of the workers and you have turned me into the worker.
That's right. They're not. They're not. That's why you have people that are breaking. People that are going to nightclubs where people are having a good time, people going to special events, grocery store, church, everywhere, and decide to shoot up the place. Because they don't know what to do with all these emotions, all these stimuli around us all the time. So again, if you're not relatively sane, the reason why I say relatively, because I think I'm just relatively sane. It's a thin line between being sane and insane. We're just functioning people.
Yeah.
They're probably a little insane. For those that aren't, and no one addresses that because the country does not care. That bridge, this collapsed in Maryland. Okay, the barge lost control of itself because they lost this electrical power and everything kind of shut down, and they put out the whole 10 yards, say this is what's going to happen. I'm listening to talking on TV. They haven't even found the 6 workers that slid their ass off that bridge, was out there fixing potholes, and they already talking about the economic capitalistic part of it. And it's like, meanwhile, we haven't found the 6 workers who are, so we're going to presumably dead, but we're still, we're still going to have our fleet of people out here looking for them in helicopters flying around burning up gas. But how is this going to affect us economically? Okay. All this is on-time delivery by the barges, mostly for cars, loads, this, that. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. These people, family, is somebody's father, mother, brother, sister, or whatever.
So before you got here, Venita, Gio was kind of giving us a little summary of the chapter. And one of the things she was talking about, this chapter 18, is where he's looking at how the state has essentially replaced the family and the community, and so we've lost that sense of intimacy and connectivity and all of that, and the state can functionally do some things, but somewhere along the line we've decided that humans are just expendable. We've lost our ability to value what it is a human connection brings.
Yeah, and as my generation is being read as what the sandwich, they're calling us now, sandwich generation, having, parents who are aging and trying to support them, but also raising children still. And it's eye-opening, but it's also for me very heartbreaking. The way that, and I just don't, I think with the pandemic, it's that I still don't have the language for what that has wrought, and the havoc that it's wreaked in our lives. I'm really concerned. I'm seeing, as I look at, my parents were considered boomers, I'm considered Gen X, and then my kids are Generation Z. My son will be older Gen Z. The girls are, I guess, mid Gen Z. They like to tell me they're middle-aged Gen Z. But yeah, I'm worried because what's happening for my generation, we're seeing these kids need some help. It's like they're stuff. It's like, I knew when I got to 2021, I could go out and get my own apartment. Like I was ready. But these kids, it's taking them longer and longer, driving and just all of these things, hitting these milestones, these so-called kind of rites of passage. It's just taking these kids longer and longer. And I'm concerned about what happens when they're not around elders in the community and their families, just the wisdom. I have a cousin who was telling me my grandmother had this very unique way of teaching her and all of us, but she lived with my grandmother and she would cuss all the time, but she would tell her, no, 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 get your ass back here and then tell me why. But what she was doing. I know the language was kind of brash, but she was really teaching her to think critically and get your way through this, right? Because sometimes there's not going to be anyone there to assist you. You're going to have to figure this out. I think my grandmother being older and parenting her daughter's child, that had, that effect that I may not be here. I mean, I couldn't see it as a young girl, but I'm not going to be here forever. And she needs to be able to carry on. But what I'm seeing today, y'all, I have to say, Michelle and Venita and Gio, I've gotten a bit more pessimistic. I just, I don't, I don't know. I don't know what's to come. And I think I'm on the cusp of these things occurring, right? With AI, public infrastructure is just suffering, right? And you're right, like y'all, like Venita was describing, people are they're breaking. What do we do?
My
So
niece, I guess she's my niece-in-law, was describing this weekend. She's the mother of two teenagers, mid-teens, and they live in St. Louis, where you can get your driver's license at 16. And she was saying, they don't even want a driver's license.
It makes sense.
And she was saying, she said, because their attitude is, why drive when you can Uber? You got Uber Eats and the Grubhub and all the rest. Why? So I don't know. So as you were talking about that, Nicole, these rites of passage, um, I maybe older folks have to to accept that there are different kinds of rites of passage. And another thing that happened is my nephew was talking about his daughter, who is 11 years old, and she's very involved in sports. And he had a situation where a gay girl, a lesbian, had come up to his daughter and said, I want you to be my girlfriend. And and he didn't know how to handle it. He didn't know how he should be feeling about it. He didn't know what to say to her. He didn't know what to say to the other little girl. And so in our group, we had like this wonderful discussion out on the by the swimming pool at Mark's house last night, Venita. And my sister-in-law and her brother and her two sons were there. And her brother is gay. And so he was saying to my nephew, he was kind of talking him through, how to handle it in a way that doesn't take away the little his daughter's ability to choose for herself. And I can't recall exactly what he said right now, but it was good. And me and my brothers were all sitting there like, well, to ourselves, because we said later, well, we didn't really have, any helpful advice to offer our nephew. And so we were grateful that the gay guy who had thought about these things, was able to kind of help him through it. So that's what I'm saying about rites of passage. When I look at the young people today, I'm like, there's so much that they're dealing with. There's so much that they're going through that, people in all of our age groups here just never had to deal with. And so, in a sense, I think they have to define their own rules of engagement and rites of passage. And we can maybe offer what we can offer when we can offer it, but I think there are going to be huge gaps where we don't really have anything of value to add.
It's very scary because a lot of them aren't being parented either. You don't start parenting when they're 15. You start when they're 2. So a lot of them are just, I mean, even us, we didn't have those so-called helicopter parents by no stretch of the imagination. They didn't even know we were dead alive until dinner time. Okay. And no, real, it was like, remember, you be going all day, on your bike. But we didn't have all this outside stuff going on. They're paying the people that the lady down the street was allowed to be your mother and step in as your mother when she had to.
Mm-hmm.
The man down the street, the father was allowed to step into and be your father when they had to. They would check you. Today, the people don't even want to. They don't, not only not raising their own children the best they can.
Because without that sense of community,
yeah,
you don't know your neighbor.
You don't know your neighbor. Family is all over the country now, and then some families near you, you don't even want your child to know them anyway. So it's a whole different thing because people have such a different set of values, whether right or wrong. Whether the values were when we were growing up, they were more cohesive. Now, I mean, you got your cousin may want to dress up as a bunny on the weekend. I didn't have any cousins that want to dress up as bunnies on the weekend, even on Easter. But now there's so many different lifestyles, you know what I'm saying? And so many everything within your family. So what do you talk about? I mean, you can't even talk if you want to. What do you talk about?
Right.
You got them and they. Last I knew in English, I don't speak in third person. When I see Nicole, I see Nicole. But Nicole told me.
She and her.
She told me that I don't really see Nicole anymore. She said, she and her, they and them. It depends. We're not going to define our sexuality. We don't even call it sexuality. I think basically a lot of people that don't want to be defined have already turned themselves into robots. They've already turned themselves into robots.
Yeah.
You don't see anything, nothingness.
Right.
You see words coming out of what you call a mouth and hands, which you call hands are moving. So it's not that much that the elites have to do at this point. The only thing they need is to turn into a dictatorship. That's it. And there's really a dictatorship anyway. They kind of make us think we have a few decisions going on. You don't. But they're going to make it formal, and then that's it. And that's not being pessimistic. That is being a realist. Awake people that are participating in life see that. For those that are in denial, it's not a bad place to be either, actually. I wish I could be in some denial. So
Venita and I have this ongoing thing, Nicole, probably from the days you were here, of pessimism and optimism and all of that. But what I wanted to say earlier when we were kind of doing the summary of the book is, I'm sure you must have heard me talk about the 500-year plan. And, and the reason that gives me a reason to feel a little bit hopeful about the future is it's just a reminder that change is a really, really long-term thing going on here. that we have very little control over. You know, we can do whatever we can do in our individual life and our personal lifetime. But it's not a lot. But that doesn't mean that change is not happening. It doesn't mean that progress is not happening. But you can't see it. It's like trying to see the forest for the trees, you know.
Right.
And so, you know, but as Harari is talking about, you know, change is, you know, I guess you'd say a neutral.
Inevitable.
It's inevitable, but it's you know, doesn't necessarily mean progress.
Absolutely.
You know?
That is the fear. That is the whole fear of change, not necessarily meaning progress.
Right.
And we know that there's been a lot of changes in our country, and now we don't have enough sense or the ability or the right to decide about our own bodies.
Wow, that's profound, Venita. That was a drop mic moment there, Venita. You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just one of my many examples of them taking away those rights that you thought you might have had, that were invisible until they said you no longer have them. I was in the store the other day. This woman came out of nowhere preaching Jesus to me. Michelle. No, I mean, it's just random. It's like random. And she just jumped out from nowhere.
A word from the Lord.
Yeah, it was like on a Saturday evening. And she just jumped out from nowhere, and I didn't even see her comment because, you know, my nerves are bad today. She could have really got herself messed up that way. And, you know, sudden moves. I don't do sudden moves today, Nicole.
That's right.
And she jumped out from nowhere. You know, Jesus, and she looked normal. I mean, what society deems normal. She looked like a regular person. She didn't have any, like, you know, standout things. You would say, well, okay, maybe. No. She had jumped out and told me that Jesus was me, my savior. And don't worry about a thing. All the politics is going on. White lady. And this and that. And I just looked at her and quietly said, it depends on what side of the fence you're looking from. I'm looking from this side. Have a nice day. Shit. No, you know, but she went on, you know, and I was just very shocking. It was very shocking to me. And I'm not gonna say she was insane. I'm saying that she had, that's what she believes. Right. And she felt like she wanted me to know it for some ungodly reason that day. Well, I'm trying to get my feng shui off.
Right, Venita.
You see what I'm saying?
That's right. Yeah.
But that's what I'm talking about. There's so many beliefs, as Harari mentioned in the book, and so many deities, and so many this and so many that. And I'm all for all the stuff. I'm just saying that I am able to make my own decisions.
That's right.
About Venita, third person, and I don't need anybody else to do it. Yeah. I don't care if you pray to a rock. That's your business. You think Jesus is coming? Hallelujah. I have no problem. You know, I'm all for everything. I like to learn. So I'm actually interested in what people believe in, you know, their beliefs and their cultures. But that's not the way it is now. People just coming out there ramming it down your throat. And Jesus is going to be your savior. I'm like, girl, I'm in Marshalls. You know, you messed up when you came out suddenly because you messed my feng shui up. I might have listened to you for a minute, but now I'm pretty angry.
Yes.
Okay, so you take your Jesus down to aisle 4. I'm going to aisle 6.
Before there's a cleanup on aisle 3. No.
I already have one, but no, seriously, though, I don't know what we can do, and I want to be hopeful. Yeah, I have to be hopeful in order to get to tomorrow morning.
Right.
But and there will be humans. It just won't be anything you can recognize.
Absolutely.
Right.
I agree with you.
That's the problem. There won't be nothing that you'll be able to recognize. Nothing.
Right.
You know, and old people, they don't even want you around. So shut your mouth, and because they're gonna kill you.
That's so true.
And they make that very clear. They make it clear every day.
That's so true. That is so true.
All of them young Democrats out there talking about, we just want Biden to die. We don't want to vote. I'm like, but I'm just saying, that's the thing. It's going to be the survival of the fittest. Marxism.
That's powerful. Yeah.
And old people are not fit, and neither are young people. That's what's scary about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to affect the babies and the old people. And the ones in the middle are going to fight and kill each other to the end, to scammer for that little piece of crumb of whatever in their imagination they think they're entitled to have, because it's already started.
Wow. Whew, that's powerful. Yeah. I think about just, a few years ago where they were, talking about it in public discourse as Afro-pessimism and Afro-optimism, and really some Black feminists saying like, yeah, the pessimism really has no place. And when we talk about Black feminism, because of the way that Black feminists are supposed to look at, generativity and this futurity. And so there is really no place, if you will, for the pessimistic kind of stance. And so I want to, get on board because there is a component, there's a part of me that says, but I would have to believe something. I've got to, because obviously I got children who are going to have, a continuation of this bloodline, if you will. And so I have to think and imagine, and my, an imagination is such, as we know as Black women too, is such a powerful tool. Just I probably won't meet my great grand. I don't know, depending on my belief system for that day, if I'll be reincarnated. It just depends on what I'm thinking that day. But probably meeting great grandchildren and so forth. But just, the ability to imagine what would it look like, and so on and so forth. And so I kind of sometimes I struggle because and it's not something that I'm even trying to reconcile. It just is, right? That I think through like all these rapid changes and how it's changed, I think me, or maybe I just changed because I've gotten to the point where I don't even want I don't want the social media. I don't want I'm doing this other thing where I've become far more withdrawn from it. And I look at these communities, I look at the children, because of course I work so closely with them. These young adults, they're in crisis. And the fact that, I'm not sure if y'all know, but it's so many like for the mental health professionals, like we're at the point where there are wait lists, and it's just a growing need that we have, so for all these so-called advancements, um, I can't help but kind of zoom in on, but look at where we are. I want to be hopeful. I think I'm more in the school of like Christina Sharp and Hartman, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know what's to come. And you're right, Venita, what you're describing, it's conquest, right? It's conquest by any other name. You get people to have to work all the time. Who's with the kids? It's just, yeah, for me, it's so much. And on any given day, I've been trying to ask myself, so what do I do? And that again, I don't know, I guess survive is one, but I start thinking in historical context. I start thinking about ancestors and like Fannie Lou had old freedom fighters and warriors, and I don't know, yes. I don't know. I don't know what's to come. I don't know what's to
And
come.
well, let me use that as a segue to kind of bring us to close for tonight. So like I said, I was involved in a wonderful conversation last night with my sister-in-law, her brother, my sister-in-law who is white, her brother who is white and gay, her two adult sons, uh, my two brothers, one of whom is a preacher. Who else was there? My nephew, who is pretty religious. He's in his mid-30s. He's what my son's age. They were all born the same year. And his wife and their two teenagers. The teenagers weren't involved in the discussion except when we were talking about them. But we were out there for hours. And the discussion really took off when one of the young men said that his wife was queer. And, it kind of caused my brother, one of my brothers, I'm not going to say which one, caused his head to spin around because he didn't understand what that meant, what that looked like in a marriage between a man and a woman. And so the young man who's that's his lifestyle, he went into a whole explanation for us. And it just led to all of these conversations on queer sexuality, on religion, on politics. I mean, it just went on and on. And it was just so good for our souls, and then for this conversation to be going on between Blacks and whites, and it's I think a rare kind of experience for us to have those kinds of moments in our life that, back when I was growing up were much more common in my experience. And so that's one of the things, I had a lot of different goals, Nicole, with starting the book group. But one of the things that I saw going on was us losing our ability to have these kinds of conversations. This individualist mindset that Gio was talking about earlier, what I was seeing was, lectures, or the cult of the expert, where one person has all the answers and the rest of us fools just need to listen to them and do what they say. And if it were working, then I'd have been down with it. But it's not working. And my experience says to me that our own individual life experiences fill us with a wealth of knowledge and wisdom that is meant to be shared. But we got to be able to engage in civil, not totally wimpy. I'm for some passion and debate and argumentation, but about ideas, not about tearing each other down. And and that was one of the things I was really hoping to leave a model of in our video archives. And so we've been doing it now for 10 years, which is like a lifetime in my life of constant rapid change. And I'm kind of getting a little tired. And so, you and I talked about you maybe being interested in kind of taking over hosting for a while or forever, or keeping the motion going. And and whether you do or you don't, to me, this is what people have to find their way back to. Just communicating. And it's become so hard in this kind of world that we live in. But my own experience, lets me know that it's not beyond the capacity of human beings. We have just been misdirected and taken away from it. Because when the state is your daddy and your mammy, Geo, no man in the house, it's not in their interest for people to connect and communicate. Yeah.
There happened to be a space that a very unusual space that you were in to even be able to have those conversations. You were at a memorial. There was no escaping. Number one. So if we don't really have many of those spaces, because people are able to escape.
Yes.
Like I escaped from aisle 5 to aisle 3.
Yes.
I know that's right, Venita. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's another thing. It's just a lot. A lot of these conversations, I still don't understand why we're having them. I grew up with a lot of diverse people. I was with my godparents a lot in Center City. I didn't necessarily call themselves queer, but what you see today is what they were. They might have used another name, but none of this stuff is a new revelation. It's just everybody wants to put their opinion on you today more than ever.
Yeah.
To the point where people are afraid to discuss things have these kind of discussions. I mean, I know I am. You got to be careful how you address people. Mother told me off one day. I said, "Is this so-and-so's mother? How dare you? You do not use the term mother. You say parent. You do not know what kind of..." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, she went off, which wasn't the right way to do that. So, my job is to be the calm one.
Okay?
Although I had to throw some shade while I was being calm.
Yeah, but since I know the story that you're talking about a patient of the medical practice that you work for. And
that's a good example, though.
But what I'm saying is, I think first we have to figure out how to have the intimate dialogues with the people closest to us. And that's something that I think is hanging by a thread. And then as you move as the circle moves out and people are further and further from you, a customer or a colleague, or it's more understandable to me that those communication links are harder. But if we could just get right and be right with the people in our immediate circles, I feel like that would ripple out.
We have to bring them back to our circle first, because we don't have people in our circles. That's the first thing. So we have to bring people back into the circle, to have a circle, to have these meaningful conversations. Well, although they're strangers, they're also very meaningful, because I asked her and she told me why she said that. And this is where it's important for me to know that, because this is why people are freaking out on their jobs, because you have all the stimuli and people are going off on you, which is equally important as the people that are in your circle. We don't have many people in our circle. So you got to actually multitask.
Yeah.
We have to be bringing them in from outside, trying to bring people that we don't know, bring people from the inside so that we can function out there. And a lot of us spend a lot of time out there. more so than we spend in here.
In here, right.
So that's what we're dealing with. And I'm very optimistic about that.
Yeah.
I'm all listening. I mean, as long as I don't know how her day was. I don't know if she was just, she got a sick child and she needed to get some steam off and no one to talk to but her own mind at night when she goes to bed at 12 o'clock midnight. It was okay with me, but I'm just saying that this is what's happening and we got to get a hold of everything because if we don't, we have to really multitask now. There's no sitting back comfortable in your little space with your little people. Unless you're going to only stay in that space. Most of us aren't going to stay in that space. Like none of us really. I don't know. But we're going to be all right. I really think that, I think that, We have for how long? I mean, we may not necessarily thrive as quickly as we'd like to, but how long has the earth been here? And we've managed to adjust to.
Well, I don't know. Ask Homo Rodolphus or Homo erectus.
That's what I'm saying. A long time, and humans are we're pretty resilient.
Yeah.
And
it makes me think about the book we read, the post-traumatic slavery syndrome, and that she did talk about that. She's like, well, the kids are all right. So regardless, but I think Michelle, like you're saying, it's going to look different. It's just, and so like you talked about, those rites of passage will be different, but rites of passage nonetheless. And so if I'm remaining, so the push is to detach from the way that it usually
the way things have always been,
right? Or
we had a family friend. I never really got to know her until the end. A couple of years ago, I was hosting some family chats, and one of my cousins invited her to come to our family chat. She at the time was 103 years old. She has since passed. But listening to her speak and just thinking about the kind of change that she saw in 103 years.
Wow. Lord have mercy.
And Venita, I say all the time, we feel like our generation has had to cope with more change than anybody.
I feel.
But nevertheless, change is, I would, if we're gonna call the chapter a permanent revolution, I would say change, Gio, is the one thing we can always count on. But the speed of it, the speed of it is really, really affecting humans. So I think the young people, they may see more than we saw. They're definitely seeing different things, but I don't know yet if it's more than we saw, or just different.
I think it's the speed. I think that was a very good thing that you just said. It's speed. Our bodies cannot move that quickly. Our minds are not moving that quickly. We're not evolving that quickly. And that's what AI does. It's not looking at the human part of it. And that's why we all have this overstimuli and the children are confused and we're confused and we don't know what to tell them because things are moving too quickly. I think we'd be okay if it was moving slower. But we have no time to adjust. Absolutely, positively none. From minute to minute. Right. I mean, they had quite a bit of time back then.
Yeah.
Before they came up and folks started picking cotton and they came with the cotton gin.
Yeah.
Okay. There was now, no.
Yeah.
No, we went from stay in the hospital, get open heart surgery, be cut from here to here. 20 years ago, till go in the hospital, robotic arm, call your husband, tell him to pick you up before dinner because we're not serving dinner here. That's how fast it moved. And that's too much. Women having children used in the hospital minimum 7 days. If you had cesareans, 9 days, 10 days. However long you wanted to relax up in that hospital. They took the baby to the nursery so the mother can get some rest.
2 days.
Okay. Now it's 2 days.
2 days.
Someplace, Connecticut.
2 days.
You have natural birth. What time is it? Oh, it's 6:36.
Yeah.
You have a natural birth. There's no complications. Y'all have to pick you up before noon tomorrow.
That was it.
They don't care
Because
who you
the
pick
first
you up.
day is considered a day. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. She said that 2 days. Now, do that make any sense? And you
2
wonder why the
days.
mothers are getting home and they can't even take care of their children. They haven't had a chance to even. I don't even know. It's just, and that's what makes me scared because I've even myself thinking about it. Just thinking about having to do that makes me freak out. Imagine the young women are doing that, all the other stuff, all the other stimuli on top of that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
people are going to stop having babies. They're not going to ever stop having babies. That's what we do when we ain't got nothing else to do. That's what they did during COVID. Plenty of babies. The COVID babies, they're going to be the largest group of babies. I just read about that. Plenty of them.
Wow.
Oof. Yeah.
So,
Anyway.
all right, you all.
Oh, here you go. I forgot to show you.
Oh,
the
baby.
This is my Beanie Baby. I bought Beanie Babies at, and I think Michelle already knows, in Geo for all my little people for Valentine's. I celebrate anything.
Oh.
And this Beanie Baby is all by himself. Of all these Beanie Babies, just this one that looked like this by himself. So I figured, that's not right. So I bought him home, and then I noticed that he has gay pride scarf on.
Oh.
And he has a peace sign with the gay pride colors. So I lost my friend Bill, which is a baritone opera singer, during COVID, before they announced it. I lost him to COVID. And so I named him Bill.
Oh, he has a name now.
Yeah, I named him. I named him a couple of weeks ago. When I first got him, I didn't. I said, you know what? I'm going to name. Isn't he cute?
Yeah, it's cute. I love it, Venita.
Isn't that nice? And so we're adjusting. And Bill's going to sit right here and make sure everybody adjusts to whatever they got to adjust to.
All right.
That's why I keep him right here on this counter.
I love that, Venita.
And I got a lotto ticket sitting in his lap. Right.
All right now. Come on, Bill. Come on, Bill.
And I never gamble, but I got a couple lottery tickets. I'm doing a
I
slow
know
ride.
that's right, Venita.
Hey,
A slow ride by. I'm not stopping. Slow ride by, blow that horn. You better jump in the car, girl, in the van.
Okay.
I know that's right.
Number the truth. I got you, Nicole. I got your bag. Michelle already know the plan. She got her books in that bag. She already got her books in her backpack.
Hey, so you saying we're gonna go down and get Nicole?
Oh yeah, hell yeah!
As we were driving through Florida,
down south
this weekend, we were like, "Hey, no way, no enslaved person was getting out of Florida."
Oh, it's a deep.
No.
You're right, Michelle. Woo.
I like it up in here, but I'm in Connecticut. Stop by New York. Hit South Carolina. Bam, right to Texas.
and I want to know, and then what?
Then it won't make a difference because we'll think about that on our way to wherever we're going to go. So if we're going to die and be taken by AI, we're going to have a good time in the process. That's what we plan to do. We won't know the damn difference. By the time they come, we probably surrender. We tired.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm ready to go. Come on, do what you want to do.
All right.
I love it, Venita. I love it.
Anyways,
so
you guys again.
Yeah. So Nicole, we'll talk.
Okay, absolutely. We'll be in touch. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Possibilities and
so like I said, I have 2 more weeks of doing this. And then, my schedule will be really, really super flexible. It's always flexible, but I really will be footloose and fancy free. So, I mean, I know, you always have a lot going on. So, we will definitely work around your schedule.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Okay, to see y'all.
I know. Can I get an amen? Amen.
Amen.
I've been dying for that all day. Yeah, I needed that. Thank you, lady in all five. There you go.
I gave you the Baptist head nod that we
Okay,
did.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, Jill, I like all that. Yes. You kind of need that right about now. Where's Martin at, Michelle? Where's Martin? Call Martin. Come give him one of his Martin sermons.
He's good. He
I can imagine.
we cremated. Y'all got a minute? I'll show you some pictures.
That's right.
We cremated, or Sue cremated my brother. And you know, so oh God, I can't even remember the point I was going to make about it. But anyway, we had a good time. Venita, what did you say about my pictures, Venita?
Let me tell you about Michelle. I'm so tired of her, to be honest with you. But that's all I got.
I love you.
I'm being real about it, you know. And he was down there. I had never seen anybody go, Michelle can make a vacation out of sitting on the floor. No, I'm not lying to you. That is one relaxing queen. I guess why we've been friends. I'm always like, let's get it moving. She's like, well, pass the wine, put in my halter. She down there, sent me a picture. She's standing with a real cute dress on. Did you make that dress?
No.
Oh, you didn't?
No, I didn't. No.
Oh, it was easy enough. It was cute, little dress on. She's sitting by the pool.
Yeah, I could have made it. I could have made it.
You could have made it. This is why I thought you did make it, because it was like, you know. And she's sitting by the pool. Now we had a memorial. She's supposed to be sitting there, you know, just acting like you had a memorial. No. She's sitting there with her feet, nails all polished, a beautiful red. The candy apple color red. You know what that means, Nicole?
Yes.
That's the red. She had her legs hanging off the side of a pool. Only see a picture from the mid part of her thigh down to her feet in the pool.
No.
I mean, I needed that laugh. But I said, I'll be damned.
No.
You know, Michelle can make a vacation.
No. What happened? Yeah. What happened was the interment was, it was like a 10, this was what I was getting ready to say before. It was a really short ceremony, like 10 minutes, because my brother really didn't want anything, you know, going on. And we did I did a non-memorial memorial video a couple of months ago. But he didn't even want that. And so Sue, who was hosting the internment, she tried to stick closely to his wishes, which was to do nothing. So it was like a 10-minute ceremony. And then when he's buried at a military cemetery, and so whoever the person was that worked at the cemetery was kind of running the activities. And he said, I understand there's someone that's going to say a few words. And Sue looked around at my brother Martin, the preacher, and she said, yes, Martin's going to speak. Well, Martin had no idea that he was going to be called on. So he got up and he started talking. Wow. And it was good. It ended up being really good. But he started out talking about the soap opera One Life to Live.
Okay. Wow.
and how my brother had lived so many lives, which he had.
I'll attest to that.
And you know, and he did that. I mean, I was telling him later, you know, I mean, in fact, what he was saying kind of sounded like what I had written, because when we did the non-memorial, I wrote a life story about my brother. And of course, it was good, it was comprehensive and blah, blah, blah. And so listening to my brother speak yesterday, it was like, well, you know, I think you were drawing on the life story that I wrote. And he said, well, maybe subconsciously, but he had also read a book by Howard Thurman, and he was talking about some of the ideas that he had gotten from there. And so, you know, but he has that capacity. My point is, you do not want to hear me go extemporaneous publicly. Here with you guys, I can do it. But publicly, oh God, no. You know, so we were only there, but it was a almost a 3-hour drive from our hotel in Kissimmee to the burial area. And so we were there for a few minutes, you know, we took a couple of pictures, and then we went back to Sue's house, my brother's house. And you know, Sue had it was Mark's birthday, so she had a birthday cake there for him. She had my brother that passed, it was his birthday. She had a birthday cake and some food and drink, and they have a pool. And so I was showing you my feet in the pool, Venita, because I didn't bring my I had my bathing suit, but I didn't have it on. I had changed into some shorts.
All right.
And, you know, but then after a while, I just wanted to put my feet in the heated water. And it was lovely. So this is y'all can see the screen, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is my brother Larry. He's like my sugar daddy.
You are truly an archivist.
Oh, this is that. So the first night that we got there, we got in Sunday morning around 9:30, 10 o'clock, and check-in at the hotel wasn't until about 4 o'clock. So we were just hanging out. We went to this place called Bahama something and had lunch, seafood paella, and drinks. Then after that, we went and got checked in at the hotel, and then my brothers bought some beer and some Basil Hayden and some chips and nuts, and then Martin brought out his iPod with music, and we were sitting out in front of the hotel blasting this music. And as all the white people would come to check in, we were like,
that's not right. Can't take them nowhere, Nicole.
we giving them something to talk about.
Where's you in Orlando?
This was in Kissimmee.
Oh, Kissimmee.
So yeah. So on the right, this is my brother Martin, that is the preacher, and he lives in Maryland. And then this is my brother Larry on the left, the one that's the sugar daddy. Ooh. And that's me in the middle in my traveling outfit. This is on the drive down to the cemetery, and the scenery was just really, really beautiful. This is some stuff that that Sue brought to be buried with Mark, with his urn. And this is a proclamation from Joe Biden, and nobody knows where it came from or how it because my brother was a congressional
Medal of Honor recipient.
congressional aide for a long time.
Okay. Yeah.
Working with Lacey Clay from Missouri. So we don't know if Lacey arranged for this or if it's just something that they do for all veterans. But it's something my brother would have just loved.
Oh, that's cool.
He loved all that kind of stuff. These are the I don't know what you call them, but the walls where the urns will go look kind of like that. We don't know exactly which one my brother's going to be in yet, so I was just trying to get a general shot. And see, and then this was the ceremony. So they did the taps and the folding of the flag, and that's his urn there on this little table, and a picture of him back there, and those things, that Vietnam cap and all of that. And the rest of us were sitting out here, and that's the stuff that she's gonna keep the picture, she said, but this other stuff will be buried with him. And then this was the group scene. And before you call me shameless, I had stockings on when I left the hotel that morning.
Okay.
But by the time we took the 3-hour drive,
you were hot.
No, my leg, I ripped the stockings.
Girl, you can't take you anywhere.
So,
they don't make stockings like they used to. It's okay.
So I took them off. This is Sue, Mark's widow, the one with the flag. Over here is my nephew, Jared, who's my son's age, and his wife and their 2 children.
Good looking kids.
These are Sue's sons. These are my 2 brothers right there. This is Sue's sister and brother. And I didn't get to meet that guy. I don't know who that is. He wasn't at the house by the time we got there.
Which one's Sue's brother? The one at the end?
This one with the red bow.
Oh, I thought so. He lives in the truth. I like that.
That's just a scene from the cemetery. South Florida National Cemetery. This is me in front of my brother's house. And this was my first time going to his house. So that's why I wanted to take a picture. I never made it down here while he was alive, but I was saying to his spirit, I finally got here.
Okay.
This is when I decided to put my feet in the water for a few.
The infamous candy apple red toes. Oh no. Yeah. Scandalous.
Yes, I look like you took that picture. Who wouldn't know she had a bathing suit on, a shorts on, or nothing on. But definitely not. Oh, she really vacationing. Real, she's not a vacation.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but no, we had a good time.
Oh, so good, Michelle.
Yeah, he would have really enjoyed the conversation that we had last night. My brother would have loved being a part of that.
That'd be Mark. Anyway, goodbye, Mark.
Goodbye, Mark, and happy birthday.
When was his birthday? Yesterday, today?
Yeah, yesterday would have been his 69th.
Yeah. I forgot he's old.
That ain't old. Venita. You sound like the young people.
Yeah,
Tell me about the olden days, Grandma.
And we ain't that far behind, so
that's not
and that ain't old.
that's what I do to convince myself that I'm not that old. I thought, oh, that's old. 69, girl, bye. No, Mark is okay. Marcus had a big personality.
Yeah.
A big personality. He's fine. You don't have to worry about AI. You have to worry about them and they. You don't got to worry about anything. Not a thing.
Yes. Gotcha.
Yeah, I don't know, but I mean, all of this stuff comes down to beliefs, and I saw something. It was a sign while I was down there in Florida, and it said something like, when you die, you will meet God. And I just wish I could have a conversation with these people so I could say, how did you know? Were you dead?
When you're in Florida, you can't be talking. Nobody want to have a conversation with anybody in Florida. They don't want to talk to you. You ain't trying to talk to them. You trying to mind your business and get to the airport. Let them say. You're in Florida. We're not in the Northeast. You're in Florida.
Yeah.
You know how those that's their whole thing. If you're not into church, you don't have no friends in Florida and North Carolina, South Carolina, all that.
And that's one of the things Sue was talking about, how hard it is for her living there because she's not religious.
Right?
Wow.
Religion is everything down south. It really is. That's how you socialize. You're not going to a church and do Friday revival, whatever they call it, Saturday, whatever they call it, and Wednesday. You have no friends. You really don't.
Yeah, but I don't know what what people believe, all kinds of things. I'm tired of it. I'm just tired of it.
Go ahead. That's wonderful.
So my point was, you say he don't have to worry about nothing because he's dead.
Nothing.
And my point is, how do we know? Maybe death is, a hellacious experience.
No, Mark was dead. Mark was tired. Mark is dead. Okay, he already had.
What if death is more challenging than this life?
It could be a Mark life.
That will be a different book by Yuval Noah Harari.
That's what I'm told. You know what? That's a good idea. But you never know. It could be more challenging. That's what we don't know. It could be more challenging. It's hard to believe it's more challenging.
I hope not. I hope it's this peace and love and happiness and heaven and but what if death is now that you've survived the human experience, now you get to go and do battle with spirits.
That sounds like purgatory. That's not my religion. Okay.
Nicole, keep your cell phone on in case I have to call you.
I will, Venita.
Take my cell phone with me too. That's all I want with me when I get cream. I'm a cell phone. I'm gonna call you, Nicole.
I got you.
So we're falling apart here, Nicole. But Venita said we're going to have a coffee clutch on election night.
Yeah, election night. It's gonna be good. Snacks, everything. Bring your wine, snacks.
Well, I'm ready. Okay, I'll be ready for it.
That's election night. And get everything at the grocery store. They're gonna get crazy. Whether Trump wins or whether Biden wins, it's gonna be dangerous out there. So go to your grocery shopping. Right. A week or so before. Make sure you know where your kids are. One in school. What girls would they in college now or seniors?
No. They're 11th graders. 11th year.
Okay, they need to be in the house.
Yes.
They need to be in the house.
Will do, yeah. And
I'm not trying to be funny because we went through changes personally here when Trump got elected.
Yeah.
January 6th.
Yeah.
When he did get elected.
I mean, just from being elected, people thought that they had these that white superiority came out with a vengeance.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And I know down south somebody had to see a little bit of that, but I saw it up here the way they were behaving. So girls need to be in the house. Some get all their stuff.
Absolutely.
They're in the house.
Absolutely. Well, I have to go and take the twin B. She has studio dance tonight, so it's my
Oh,
take her. But I'll be back
Okay.
and I'll see y'all.
okay.
It was so good to see y'all
Yeah.
again.
You
Yeah, have a
too.
good one.
All right. See you
Okay.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so you all ready to say goodnight?
Yeah, we have
Yes.
to. I miss you so much.
Yeah.
The memorial. Look like a good time.
It actually was. I mean, what was hard about the trip was the travel,
That's always, yeah.
Um,
Always.
but the time there, I
Mhm.
had a great time.
That's good. You need to.
Actually,
It's
you
nice.
know, hanging
Yeah.
out with my brothers and spending their money and
Oh,
you
see, you know
know.
that's a good time. And
Okay.
she look good. She
Okay.
look very good.
That's
Yeah,
She look
mhm.
I
very
was having a
rested.
great
I,
time.
Yeah.
Michelle, I'm not even gonna say anything. But she look very good. She looks very rested now. Like she finally got some rest. She looks good.
Mhm.
Yeah,
She looks
yeah,
good. We
yeah.
meet next week. What are we reading? Are we reading?
Yeah, next week, next chapter, we have 2 chapters left. Chapter 19 and chapter 20. So we're gonna do the next 2 weeks and call it a day.
Okay. Anyway, I'll be
And
talking.
Gio, I'm gonna finish my reading of chapter 18. So just in case
Okay.
there's anything I want to add to our discussion on permanent revolution.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
thank you for
Was that short? Was that short chapter?
helping us stay on
Yeah,
track.
it's short.
Okay, maybe I'll try to. It's been crazy. We'll talk later, Gio. It's been crazy over here. But I'm gonna try to read both of those then. If we're gonna try to double up on them.
Okay.
Yeah, call
All
me.
right.
All right.
See y'all next week.
Have a good night.
Right.
Reading our
Bye.
story.
Indeed. All right. Take care.
Bye.